And here I am, a small operator, and you're going to tell me you're not going to sue me. And they probably wouldn't. But who's to say this would be the one time that somebody decides to flex their muscles there or do whatever to make us an example for the rest of the small businesses they do business with, to say, if you do this, look, this is what's going to happen to you.
So the production team wanted us to give you 5 tips on how to not get sued. Don't get sued. That was the title for today's episode. But I'm going to switch it up a little bit in the spirit of the holidays, in the spirit of true hip hop heads. And I don't know if I told you all in Commerce and Chill Land, but the new Universal Hip Hop Museum will be located just 2 blocks from where our office is located here in the Bronx. And so shout out to all the hip hop heads. Today's episode is going to be called Protect Your Neck. 5 tips to protect your small business, especially during the holiday season, because folks is out there trying to get folks. So we want you to hold on to your business, to understand some of the ins and outs, how you can position yourself to avoid costly mistakes that could lead to lawsuits. And so as business owners, it's our responsibility to do whatever is reasonable within our means to limit the risk that our businesses face, to keep the businesses running smoothly, so that we're still yet able to keep people employed, still yet
limit the risk of getting shut down,
still able to service our clients, and still able to get paid. And so put that out there so that you will think about what are the potential risks that you face in operating your business. And then that will be a good lead in as to what you shouldn't do, or what you should do to avoid getting sued, i.e. to protect your neck. So, and
sometimes it's not all about getting sued. It's just protecting yourself and your business by just doing what's right. I'm not doing something from always the mentality of, let me not do this because I don't want to get sued. And I get that. But you got to kind of think almost beyond that, because let's be clear, getting sued has nothing to do with you doing something right or wrong. You could get sued because somebody could just be on it, like look at you and you look at somebody and then go file a lawsuit. It doesn't mean they'll win, but they can still file a lawsuit against you.
That's still a waste of time and resources. And
but you have no control.
Distract you away from it.
You have no control over that.
Nonetheless,
I could sue you right now.
You could. I double dog dare you.
For breach of contract.
There are some common mistakes that small businesses make that can lead to costly lawsuits.
Yes.
And so we're going to share some tips on how you can protect yourself and your business from those things.
Protect your neck.
So when we look at the word protect in Merriam-Webster, it says to cover or shield from exposure, injury, damage, or destruction, to guard or insecurity. That makes sense. But when I dug further into shield from exposure could be the act of revealing secrets, right? So if you have information that you don't want to become public, then you might want to protect that information. As well as the fact or condition of being affected by something or experiencing something. That's what exposure is. One of the other definitions of protection or to protect is to save from contingent financial loss. So our goal is to share this information with you today so that you will incorporate it and mitigate any potential financial loss you will possibly experience. And then lastly, to foster or shield from infringement or restriction, specifically to restrict competition for something such as a domestic industry by means of tariffs or trade controls. So if you're in a really small business, typically you don't realize how you're restricted against competition. But if you're in a restaurant business, there might be the large restaurants or the quick service QSR restaurants like your McDonald's, your Taco Bell's, no disrespect to them, that have lobbyists working in their favor so that there are regulations that promote their businesses and don't necessarily help yours. So you might want to also be in
100%.
those.
But hit them where they're weak.
Yeah.
You got to look for the soft spots.
Yeah.
Like how did David take out Goliath?
With a little slingshot.
With a little rock and a slingshot. Like I wasn't there. I don't know exactly how it went down, but I'm just saying from the story, he went for the soft spot. So, this is off what you're saying, but
So defend yourself and your business from what can potentially.
but don't get caught on
lead to
defense all the time too.
No, was I not the person that says that everybody
You can't just win the
is
game
on
on defense
who's
alone.
playing offense? Shout out to
They
Donald
go
Jason
hand in
Green.
hand.
Somebody got to drive offensively.
It was that Malcolm Gladwell book. Sorry, Malcolm. Where, and I can't remember which one it is. Outliers, where he talked about the
girls basketball team.
The dad was the coach. The team totally sucked, but he did not they sucked, but they weren't as good as the other team. But he figured out what they were good at, and then he looked at the sport in its totality, and he looked at the data, and he looked at where the highest percentage his team could score points.
So here are
find the soft spot.
5 tips to protect the neck of your small business. Number 1, watch what you say and do. Don't be like us.
Sorry.
Watch what you say and do. Number 2, hire a competent attorney.
Check.
Hire a competent attorney.
I can do number 2.
And depending on the nature of your business, your industry, you may need more than one attorney.
And listen, when you say hire a competent attorney, you okay over there?
I am.
Too much laughing going on behind
that
the scenes
means don't hire a divorce attorney
Yes,
to
you
help
took the
you
words
with
out my mouth.
with your contracts. Don't hire a real estate attorney to negotiate collective bargaining agreements with the unions.
And listen,
make sure that you
might know, you might have a good relationship with an attorney who specializes in this thing. You have them help find you the attorney who specializes in this, or refers you to somebody else that can refer you to somebody, like, to put you in that network. Like, don't.
Number 3.
Don't use a divorce attorney to be like your criminal defendant. We laughing, but it's happened. Like,
Number 3,
I've seen it.
Separate your business from yourself. Separate yourself from your business. So we talked about the corporate veil.
Right. We talking about separate yourself,
your
like,
finances.
legally.
Yeah.
Like, please. Like, I had this conversation with somebody not too long ago. Your personal account should not have any of your business money going in it. You should.
I mean, you should, if you transfer money from the business,
If you're paying yourself, right, or
you
check, you're
and
paying
then you
yourself
can track
back.
all of the
But
money.
I'm talking about individuals who, like, somebody swipes a debit card or a credit card at their business to pay for a product or service, and that money gets deposited directly into their personal account. That is no separation. That you're commingling funds. Like, you'd be surprised how many people do that. Like, please don't do that. Stop. And then, like, how do you, like, manage? Like, how do you know what's going and coming right? Like,
Number 4, insure your business and insure yourself. Insure yourself and insure your business. And number 5, protect your files. Protect your files. Those are the 5 tips to protect your neck, or the neck of your small business. So, Chief, let's start with the first one. Watch what you say and do.
You do not. It's nothing I can say about that. What can I say? I'm sorry. Listen, shout out to my man, Jermaine, over at Sydney Sweets. His family, love him to death. My man said it one day in an Instagram post, and I will go to my grave with this and will never forget it. And he said it to somebody else who was looking to interview entrepreneurs. And he was like, listen, you want to interview an entrepreneur about whatever the topic was? He was like, reach out to Waleed. He's the realest entrepreneur I know. And, like, to me, that was the ultimate compliment. And, like, I will ride that to, like, I'm the people's entrepreneur, like The Rock in wrestling. I'm just going to say like it is. And listen, some of the stuff I say, and the team will tell you, like, and I'm to the point now, I'm like, the quickest point between A and B is a straight freaking line. And listen, I get it, workplace politics and this, that, and that. You got to take these zig. Listen, I'm at the point in my life, I don't got time to be zigging and zagging. If I need to get to A to B and you tell me to go straight and there's a wall there, guess what? I'm going straight through that.
Let me
wall.
put it in perspective, because
why do I gotta waste time going around? I got Simtex, I got C4. I'm blowing that sucker up, and we're gonna keep going forward.
The image of your business is critical. That's one reason why owners and their employees should avoid making any public announcements or conducting any business that might be considered questionable. That includes libelous or potentially slanderous statements. So not talking
that's
bad.
I'm not going to say like reckless stuff about somebody.
You still got to set the context for the people in commerce and chill land. But it also means not doing business with unscrupulous individuals. You may not think that working for a group of individuals known for shoddy business practices would be problematic because
Totally.
you know their company's ethics are above reproach. But if they are exposed, your company's name could be linked to them in the fallout.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind.
That last part you said, let me be clear to everyone out in Commerce and Chill Nation. If you're doing business with someone, whether they're a vendor or supplier, and you know they're shady, and you continue to do business with them, you're type shady too. Listen, I'm telling you from somebody who's worked with numerous vendors and suppliers in different businesses. And then I found out later on, I was like, they weren't doing what, or they were doing this, and it wasn't acceptable. And we were like, listen, we can't work together anymore because it doesn't meet the standard of quality. And if word gets out on the street, and not even if word gets out, because that's like, you're like, oh, you could keep doing it as long as we could keep it a secret. Like, if somebody else is doing something shady and you're associated, why do you think these brands, like these athletic brands or these restaurant, what kind of brand is, they drop these endorsements right away when whoever their ambassador
Example,
is.
Tiger Woods.
Listen, they dropped him hotter than a hot knife in your hand on a hot summer day, right? When you were at a barbecue and you grabbed the spatula because you left it on the grill. You let go of that, they dropped him fast. Right? Because they're like, I don't want to be, they always distance themselves really fast from that. So if you're doing work with, and you find out one of your suppliers or vendors is doing something shady, it's not your fault that they're like that. But if you know and you don't separate yourself and you continue to do it, there's some shadiness going on your part because you've allowed that to continue. You're accepting, you're somewhat culpable.
The moral of the
Guilty
story
by
is
association.
point one is watch what you say and do, and what
who
you
you
say
do it
and
with.
do could also be related to the people with whom you say and do that business. Number two, hire a competent attorney. So when starting up a business, interview an attorney so you have legal counsel on standby, right? Because the best time to have an attorney is before you need them. You may need a lawyer to advise you before you take an action or to recommend the steps to take if you've been sued. It's a good idea to retain an attorney who is familiar with the local laws and customs in the area in which the business operates and has expertise in a particular field. If necessary, if your company anticipates legal challenges from the Internal Revenue Service or a State Department of Taxation, it may also make sense to hire a tax attorney. Let me tell you, we have an employment attorney and we have a lot of employees. Shout out to Peggy at CSG. Peggy is sister.
You can't be dropping all of our connects like that on Commerce and Chill yet.
Peggy is sister to one of our good friends, Hugh, over at MSA.
Oh my gosh, she's dropping everything now.
And so,
thank goodness we only got 200 subscribers.
Our friends at MSA introduced us to Peggy several years ago, and she's helped us. Like, she's worth.
No one's gonna know.
She's worth every penny that we spend with
$2
her.
million?
Because she gives us wise counsel when it comes to employee matters. Because there are a lot of folks who have free time to Google all kind of ish, and they be scheming, straight up scheming. So I was talking to my girl Peggy yesterday. She hooked me up with some info. She hooked me up with some documents. Boom, bam, bip.
We had a long conversation because this abbreviated or new addition to the New York City law is interesting. And as I said earlier, there are going to be a lot of people out of work. And then the question is, how is it going to affect businesses? Listen, how is it going to affect communities? And let me think about this other thing. How is it going to affect the goods and services that you pay for? And we already there's already discussion. We're in inflation and X, Y, and Z. So if there are less people to service you when you go to your favorite restaurant or your local watering hole or whatever, don't think for a minute those prices aren't going to tick up on the items that you get on a regular basis.
What does that have to do with hiring a competent attorney?
I don't know, but I'm just putting it out there that we had this conversation with her.
If you're trying to come for me, we got really good legal counsel. I'd watch out.
Hey, come on.
Additionally, our insurance company puts us in touch with some really awesome attorneys. So that's another thing.
The lesson here is
hire a competent attorney.
Not just hire them, but when you're going to, some things you might be getting ready to do, or some things that happen, like in New York City is a good example, the new amendment to the law. You want to consult with your attorney. It's something with taxes. You consult with your accountant to say, hey, this is what's coming. How should I handle this? How should I break the news to people? How should I handle the individuals who said, listen, I'm not doing this, or I'm only going to do this? That way you've spoken to someone, one, who's got experience on both sides of that coin, and who's also probably talked to tons of business owners like yourself, because that attorney is not just representing you. They're representing, hopefully, other businesses that are very similar to yours, large and small. So they have they have a wide variety of information and feedback that they're hearing from these other businesses that they can share with you, that you can say, and let's be clear. You shouldn't just be listening to your attorney. We're talking about hire a competent attorney. You shouldn't just be listening to them. You should be asking them a lot of questions. Why? What about if I do this? If this happens, what about this? And if I say this and they say this, what about that? You hired them. You should be asking them questions on top of questions.
And don't be cheap, because what you'll find is you get what you pay for. Right. So if you find that discount lawyer, and
why does everybody not have a Ferrari?
And then you end up
because it does not cost the same price as a Honda
or paying
Civic.
more for whatever reason.
You don't get the same thing.
It wasn't worth it. It wasn't a good investment. So
last time I checked, that Honda Civic I jumped in this morning
with the right people
don't have the pop out umbrellas like the Rolls Royce has in the door. You pay for something, you get something different. That's simple.
So number 3 is separate yourself from your business. Many entrepreneurs own and operate their businesses as sole proprietorships. We've had this conversation before.
Incorporate when you get to that level.
Get you at least one employee. This can be problematic in the event of the company is sued, because oftentimes the owner's individual assets, for example, cars or a home, are fairly easy to attack or attach in a court of law. Keep it separate. Like I don't need to ever have my own car. I can drive a car for the benefit of the company, because like, really, where am I going other than to go to work? So just make sure that you have your stuff separate.
Yeah. Think about it though. You have a business. This is a little off the beaten path.
Oh goodness.
Sorry, it's what I do. You know who I am. And so does everybody in Commerce and Chill. Welcome to my world. So think about it though. If you're in business, you have a business. You said something very interesting. Why do I really need a car in my name? Because it's just something else that I'm paying for, right? And something goes wrong, the car is tied to me. Now, let's just forget things going wrong. If it's part of my business, who's paying for the car? The business. Who's paying for the insurance? The business. Who's paying for the fuel? The business. Who pays for the maintenance? Who pays for the gas? Did I say gas? Who pays for the fuel?
The fuel, gas,
right?
Same difference.
The business pays for all of that. And I'm no accountant, but the last time I checked, those things become expenses that the business can write off, which does not come out of your pocket personally. It becomes a business expenditure, etymology. It becomes a business expenditure, but you, as whatever role you are in that business, get to reap the benefits of using that piece of equipment for company business, right? Don't think you could just, roll out with it to the Hamptons and do some reckless stuff with it all the time. There are limits to it that and there's rules and that you have to play within those borders. But that becomes a huge advantage for you, because now that expense is no longer on your side, it's on the business side. And then there are certain deductions and write-offs that come along with that. But we'll save that for an episode when we bring on a tax professional.
Number 4, insure yourself. All businesses should obtain at a minimum liability insurance, just in case, for example, a customer slips and falls in your place of business. Certain professionals, such as insurance agents and consultants, should also consider getting errors and omissions insurance to ensure their business is protected in the event that a customer or client accuses the owner of making an error or not living up to a contract. I'm going to say this. We spend a whole lot of money on insurance.
Second highest expense.
After labor.
Labor is first, insurance is second.
In 2018, 2019, and 2020, I was deposed regarding a suit with a former employee. And now, this was not our fault.
Let's be clear about that. We had nothing to do with it. We got dragged into this dirty fight just because.
Yeah, because of with whom
they just wanted to keep going
with
down.
whom we chose to do business, and
which we talked about earlier.
Be very careful to read the clauses of your contract, because they're always going to make the flow down clauses so that whatever is applicable to a prime contractor will subsequently be applicable to a subcontractor, even if you're a small business. But if you're a small business, why should you carry the burden of the insurance?
Don't let them put that stuff on you.
Yeah. Picture me.
Why would
doing
you
business with an airline
and you got to indemnify
the
them?
Airline is saying I have to indemnify them if the plane crashes. I'm not flying the plane.
And all I do is wash the plane. And matter of fact, I don't even wash it. I'm the one
who takes the garbage out.
I'm the one that changes the light bulb in the microwave. But I got to indemnify them because the plane, just in case the plane crashes, it has an accident.
Don't get God.
Yeah.
So insure your business and insure yourself. Make sure that you have proper life insurance as well in the event that something happens to you.
You don't want to get in.
You become deceased,
or
you
heirs, or someone else in your family
disabled, and you can't run the business. You want to make sure that you have enough sufficient financial resources to allow the business to continue, whether it's someone that's on your team or it's enough to hold you over until you can sell the business, so that yourself and your heirs can find financial benefits.
Yeah, and also just because, just in case, people get, depending how you structure things and you do some of these deals, like your leases, etc. There's a lot of times when you start a business or you're early in this game, they want you to personally guarantee things, and because that business
especially if you're a small business,
and if that business goes south, don't think you're off the hook. They will, depending.
They could come get your house.
They could come after. They will come after you personally to get what they want.
Everything.
They want to be made whole. So be super careful, and mindful of these things when you enter these agreements. Read them carefully, and then don't assume just because. Listen, I'll give you a great example. I had a discussion with someone, a business, and we were going to use one of their products, and they gave us some boilerplate credit card.
Beware of the boiler.
Whatever it's called, service agreement, because they were providing the software we were going to use, but their merchant processing was through another vendor. So they just used this boilerplate merchant processing agreement, whatever, service agreement, whatever it's called. And I actually read this thing. And I'm willing to bet probably majority of people that sign these things never read them. I don't know, this thing was maybe 8 pages long, double-sided, 2 columns per page, probably size 11 font. Horrible. And I actually read through it before I signed it with this particular firm, there were clauses in there that said we couldn't, if we changed any of the products that we offered on our menus, for lack of better terms, we had to notify the credit card processor to get approval. I was like, wait a minute. I'm a small business, and I don't care if I was a large business. If I decide tomorrow to change the basic sneaker cleaning service to something else, I need to notify my my credit card processor first. So when I approached the firm about it and a few other things, probably like 10 other things, they were like, oh, that's a standing contract, Wally. Don't worry about it. Just sign it. And nobody ever enforces those things anyway. I was like, whoa, hold on.
Just because they don't enforce it doesn't mean that they can't.
And it doesn't mean I should just sign it because no one else has ever done that before. And I've heard that twice. And I'm speaking in the laundry industry, I'm getting super specific, because there was another firm who wanted to do business with us, to do a partnership with us. And I went through their agreement, and they were like, yeah, this is our standing agreement, just sign it and let's go. And they're a big firm. But this big firm works with a lot of small firms, which end up making them a big firm. Think about that shit now. They're a big firm because they raised a ton of capital, but the work that they end up producing is done by a bunch of small firms. So they gave me the contract and said, just as outstanding contract, sign it. It's like, I can't. It says this, it says that, and I can't agree to that. Yeah, don't worry though. Said the same thing to me as the merchant processing person. Oh, don't worry about it. We hardly enforce that. If things don't go right, we'll just say whatever. We really don't have time to sue you. Really. But you've just raised, I don't know, tens of millions of dollars in whatever round they're in. And here I am, a small operator, and you're going to tell me you're not going to sue me. And they probably wouldn't. But who's to say this would be the one time that somebody decides to flex their muscles there or do whatever to make us an example for the rest of the small businesses they do business with, to say, if you do this, look, this is what's going to happen to you. Why should I even open myself up to it or leave myself to the part? And I signed a contract once with somebody, and they was like, hey, don't worry about it. That shit cost me $1,000. And that, listen, at the time, you look at it now, $1,000, it is nothing. But at the time, that $1,000 was a lot because the business was early and we weren't doing a whole lot of revenue per day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it was the best learning lesson ever, because those two gentlemen that we entered a partnership with for those services, they was like, yeah, this is outstanding contract. Don't worry, Wally. Like, everything goes well, blah, blah, blah. And boy, was I wrong. And boy, were they wrong, because everything didn't go well. It went sour soon. And it went really sour, like disgustingly sour, like very rude. And they were rude to you too. Like, I didn't forget that. But anyway, I say that to say, read it and question it and challenge it. Because just because they didn't do it to somebody else doesn't mean that potentially could not happen to you. What's the next one?
Number 5 and final tip is protect your files.
Oh, files.
Most businesses these days work extensively on computers, which requires emphasizing the safety
Backup
of your
storage,
computer system.
the cloud.
Businesses need updated antivirus and other type of security software
I don't know.
loaded and activated on their systems. If a virus were to bring down a computer system, it could cause a business to be unable to perform certain contracted work. Also, key files could be lost or stolen, which could then lead to legal action from clients and or suppliers. I can tell you, we recently started working with a large global corporation, and our services agreement was some 36 pages. And of the 36 pages...
Ask her, did she read all 36 pages?
Yes, I did.
Every day, every night. Highlighter, pen. I'm like, it's time to go to bed. All I hear is...
But their standard master service agreement included a very specific language regarding cybersecurity, regarding the technology, including cyber insurance, and including IT network infrastructure. And so we had to have extensive discussions with our insurance broker, actually get our insurance broker on the line with the client. We actually also had to bring someone in to look at how to reconfigure our IT network to be able to identify potential threats to the network and to demonstrate to the clients how we do our testing. So as you grow, because you don't always want to be small, these are things that you're going to have to take.
But you still should be better and
But you're
secure.
still going to have to protect your data.
Right.
Because if you don't protect your own data, then
And
clients that have valuable data, which is anything with customer information or related to money.
And when you say small, it might not just be size-wise. We're speaking small. We could be talking, you don't want to be small revenue-wise forever.
So just make sure that you protect your files, protect your data.
And if you don't, call me, because I'll take your more. I have no problem helping you out.
What else do you have
My
to
bag
say?
is always open for a deposit.
Anything else to close, Chief?
No.